Do I intend not to express something other than love? Keep asking all through the day. See that your intent to be the presence of love, see that it means that you intend not to be the absence of love. And just do it for now, because that's how you promote a shift of perception in practical, embodied ways. Continuing, while you believe that two totally contradictory thought systems share truth, your need for vigilance is apparent. I know that I am the presence of love, but boy, George Bush sure gets my goat. You say things like that, and you don't even question. The logic of what you're saying is so obvious to you, but what you are overlooking is the use you are putting your mind to. You are saying that it is possible for you to be love and yet not be love at the same time. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about George Bush or your wife or the nasty next door neighbor. It doesn't matter what the subject of it is. It matters that you are overlooking the fact that you're trying to use your mind in oppositional ways, being love and being hate simultaneously, without noticing it or questioning it. And when you don't question it, when you don't notice it, you're not being the singularity of mind that you really are. And in that act of forgetting, you lose your singularity as well as the experience of your true identity. So, again, while you believe that two totally contradictory thought systems share truth, your need for vigilance is apparent. Not vigilance against George Bush, but vigilance against your unchallenged attempt to be conflicted, without remembering that conflict is absolutely impossible to you because of what you really are. The conflict and that use of your mind is insane. It is unintelligent. It is unreasonable. Continuing, your minds are dividing their allegiance between two kingdoms, and you are totally committed to neither. Now, your identification with the kingdom is totally beyond question, except by you, when you are thinking insanely. What you are, and listen to this, what you are is not established by your perception and is not influenced by it at all. Now, you can have millions of different perceptions of things, but it doesn't change the thing. Rule out of me all self-will. Rule out of me all perceptions that aren't true, so that I might experience what is established, separate and apart from my perceptions, so that I might experience truth, and so that I might be singular mind. Again, this is important. What you are And I'm going to add, and what everything else is not established by your perception and is not influenced by it at all. All perceived problems in identification at any level are not problems of fact, they are problems of understanding, since they mean that you believe what you can understand is up to you to decide. The ego believes this totally, being fully committed to it. Perhaps one of the most difficult aspects of awakening is that you have to ask God what it is you're supposed to understand. And you have to ask God what the understanding is without trying to figure it out for yourself, or without making up an understanding of it by yourself. You have to be willing to abandon, for instance, your allegiance to time, so that you might be in the flow of creation, honoring it and rejoicing in it and reveling in it and being surprised by it on its terms. Thy will, not mine be done. That's the stickler, at least for the ego. I'm going to go back. All perceived problems in identification at any level are not problems of fact. They are problems of understanding, since they mean that you believe what you can understand is up to you to decide. The ego believes this totally, being fully committed to it. It is not true. The ego, therefore, is totally committed to untruth, perceiving in total contradiction to the Holy Spirit and to the knowledge of God. Now, of course, it's going to perceive in total contradiction to the Holy Spirit, because this imagined ego states that there is something going on besides the singularity that is God. So it says there's something else in the water, vinegar, or let's say something more pleasant, honey. It says that the singularity is divided. Therefore, it's going to perceive everything in total contradiction to the truth, because the truth of everything is singularity. It can't see any other way. That which arose out of a imagined postulate of division is going to see division, be division, elicit division, and try to manifest division. Continuing, you can be perceived with meaning only by the Holy Spirit, because your being is the knowledge of God. Let's make this even more relevant. Your being is the acknowledgement of God. Your function is the recognition and acknowledgement of God in each and everything. Your function is to be the awareness of what God is being. It is your function to be that which glorifies God by seeing nothing else anywhere. The book says, your being is the knowledge of God. Well, if you are recognizing, delighting in, recognizing, and glorifying God, then you are the knowledge of God. Any belief that you accept which is apart from this will obscure God's voice in you and will therefore obscure God to you. Why will it obscure it? Because you're giving preference to an imagination. You're giving preference to a daydream. You're giving preference to a figment of your imagination. Your wrongly placed attention is obscuring God from you. It is also nullifying your function because you've abandoned it temporarily to indulge in the satisfaction of having a particularly original viewpoint about creation. Because you're choosing for a supposedly satisfying expression of self-will. Continuing, unless you perceive His creation truly, you cannot know the Creator, since God and His creation are not separate. The oneness of the Creator and the creation is your wholeness, your sanity, and your limitless power. This limitless power is God's gift to you because it is what you are. Again, you don't have a mind, you are mind. Mind is a singularity. It's whole, it's infinite. So there is only one, and that one is God. The mind of God is the mind you are experiencing. But as long as you're intent upon having an experience of your own that you're making up, you will not have available to you the sanity of the experience of your unity with God. Again, this limitless power is God's gift to you because it is what you are. If you dissociate your mind from it, you are perceiving the most powerful force in the universe as if it were weak, because you do not believe you are part of it. Well, not only do you consider it weak, some of you consider that it doesn't exist. There is no God. There's just us, mortals, doing the best we can to survive and maybe improve things a little bit for our children, who are also nothing more than a product of our bodies, purely material, with a brain, and they will have minds of their own, and hopefully we will have improved things so that they have a head start further along than we did and can do better than we did. You see, if you dissociate your mind from it, you are perceiving the most powerful force in the universe as if it were weak because you do not believe you are part of it. Perceived without your part in it, God's creation is perceived as weak, and those who see themselves as weakened, what? Do attack. The attack must be blind, however, because there is nothing to attack. Therefore, they make up images, perceive them as unworthy, of course. You see, the whole result of this mindset is division. It's not going to characterize anything as helpful. And so therefore they make up images, perceive them as unworthy, and attack them for their unworthiness. That is all the world of the ego is. Nothing. It has no meaning. It does not exist. Do not try to understand it, because if you do, you are believing that it can be understood, and is therefore capable of being appreciated and loved. That would justify it, and it cannot be justified. You cannot make the meaningless meaningful. This can only be an insane attempt. So, you know what? We, in a way, are talking about the forms of insanity that are being employed. But remember that it's not so that you can understand insanity, but so that you can see that it is insane. So that you can see that it doesn't hold up in the light of truth. So that you can see that it's not true about you. So that you can see that your definition of the world is not true about creation. And as you begin to be willing to question the way you're seeing things, you will open the door for genuine curiosity to come into play, to see things as they truly are, according to God's understanding of everything. Which brings us back to that powerful word, yield. Doesn't sound like power, does it? You can't yield, you know. You can't wield yielding. Yielding is, to your mind, set passive. It's not doing anything yourself. But it's a powerful word because it cuts through the dream. It cuts through the illusion. It cuts through the suffering, the sin, the disease, the death. It triggers miracles. It triggers sudden shifts of perception, whereby you come back step by step, perhaps, into your right mind. Continuing, allowing insanity to enter your minds means that you have not judged sanity as wholly desirable. I know at one time or another, every single one of you have said, if I were to yield to God's will completely right now, I wouldn't fit in anymore. No one would understand me. I would be ostracized. I would run into difficulties, and therefore it's not worth it to me. So you have not judged sanity as wholly desirable. Off the top of your head, you would say, well, of course I judge sanity as wholly desirable. Just don't tell me the details of what that means. Continuing, if you want something else, you will make something else. But because it is something else, it will attack your thought system and divide your allegiance. If you want something else but God's will, if you want something else but truth, you will make something up. Now, when you make something up, the first thing you're going to have to make up is some presence to make it up, and that's called the ego. And now we don't have pure water anymore. We don't have pure God anymore. We have God in this little speck of nothing that thinks it's something that's trying to assert itself, and the result, whatever proceeds from that action, will attack your thought system, meaning the thought system of the Christ that you are, and divide your allegiance. Division is the inevitable result of an intent that is conflicted. You cannot create in this divided state. And you must be vigilant against this divided state, because only peace can be extended. You can only give what is whole. Division cannot be extended. But division practiced in your mind will keep you from experiencing your wholeness and the wholeness of the infinitude of your being that is all of creation. Continuing, your divided minds are blocking the extension of the kingdom. Why? Because they're creating division. Your divided minds are blocking the extension of the kingdom, and its extension is your joy. It's your function. It's your nature. It's you being in your right mind, and I'll tell you, it feels good. It's your joy. Continuing, if you do not extend the kingdom, you are not thinking with your Creator and creating as He created. In other words, the singularity of you isn't finding expression where like begets like. And the like that is begotten is harmonious because it has arisen out of a consciously singular experience of mind, of being conscious awareness. In this depressing state, the Holy Spirit, that which is nothing more than your right mind, reminds you gently that you are sad. It doesn't gloss it over. It says you're sad. It makes you look at the fact that you're sad. It makes you acknowledge that you're not really happy, even though in your giddiness you bubbled over with apparent happiness and fooled even yourself a little bit. It says, it reminds you gently that you are sad. Why? So that you can see that there's a call for correction that you haven't been paying attention to in the intoxication of your false sense of happiness. In this depressing state, the Holy Spirit reminds you gently that you are sad because you are not fulfilling your function as co-creators with God and are, therefore, depriving yourselves of joy. This is not God's will, but yours. If your will is out of accord with God's, you are willing without meaning. Yet, because God's will is unchangeable, no real conflict of will is possible. You see, The expression of willfulness by that which doesn't exist does not create conflict between that expression of will and God's will. The expression of willfulness by that which doesn't exist is not an expression of will at all. Nothing's happened. So nothing has happened that's at odds with God. You just think you're having this life where you're determining your lives by the use of the conscious use of your will. But isn't it interesting that as you realize that you haven't been accomplishing anything, you haven't been doing anything real, there's still this whole world, and there's still all of you. Creation is untouched by it, but you're not seeing it as it is. That's all. You're just not seeing it as it is. This, continuing, is the Holy Spirit's perfectly consistent teaching. Teaching you. Teaching you that you're not accomplishing what you thought you were, because you're not what you thought you were, but you are something, and that something is real, and that something is the Christ, and that something is mind, which already is a singularity that doesn't have to become more pure. And it teaches you this so that you might begin to embrace this picture of yourself, because initially it's a picture that has to be given to you. So that you might embrace this picture, and your old pictures, which didn't represent the truth, might begin to crumble and lose your attention. Continuing, creation, not separation, is your will because it is God's. And nothing that opposes this means anything at all. Creation, being a perfect accomplishment, the sonship can only accomplish perfectly. There's the singularity again. That which begets that which embodies it. Being a perfect accomplishment, the sonship can only accomplish perfectly, extending the joy in which it was created and identifying itself with both its creator and its creations, knowing they are one. This section is entitled From Vigilance to Peace. The section before was about vigilance. We're talking about a movement. We're describing the fact that vigilance is necessary because you are using your mind in extremely sloppy ways. Ways that allow conflict to be embraced side by side without recognizing that such a thing is absolutely impossible. And you are letting them exist side by side without challenging them and without making a choice, so that you are not believing truth and error simultaneously. This section that we've been reading about is describing the fact that although vigilance is the starting point, it's not the ending point. Life is not about vigilance. And there will be a movement from vigilance to peace. But you won't be able to move to the peace until you begin to recognize